Welcome back to Thriving in Love podcast, the podcast that challenges the status quo so couples can thrive as their most authentic selves. Today on the show, we have a very special guest because she is a very dear friend of mine, Nistha. She is an author, a speaker, and a mindset coach. Nistha, hi, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me, Sana. I'm excited.
I'm excited to dive in because you are in a huge transition right now. I feel like you're going through a really big portal into becoming the woman that you are going to be. And it's been an honor and a joy watching you going through all of these shifts with so much grace and so much compassion for yourself, compassion for your parents, your partner. It's been such a beautiful journey to observe.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps while you were saying that because I think I haven't recognized that the transition is happening until about a week ago. And then I verbalized it to you right now off air. And as you're saying that, I'm literally getting chills. I'm like, yeah, that is what's happening. So I'm excited to be here, dive in, share more about my journey because I think what we're going to talk about today is still a theme and a lesson that I'm trying to internalize and infuse and really embody. I'm sure that's something that we'll get into as well, like having awareness versus embodiment and what that means. So there's just a lot of juicy things. And I think it'll really help maybe if you have a younger audience that's maybe on their search for finding love or what that really
Even
means.
older women,
Even
I'm
older.
telling you,
Yeah.
I have clients that are, in their 50s and 60s that are just coming out of these relationships that they've had with these narcissistic partners and finding their self-worth for the first time, finding their groove back. It is not an age thing. It is definitely more of a mindset thing, more of when our souls are ready. And sometimes, some older souls are ready at 19, some newer
Yeah.
souls are ready at 90.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to offer your wisdom with my audience because I feel like it's been surprising to see how much growth you've had at such a young age. I remember when I was 25, 26, it's when I first got married, and I wish I had the awareness and the wisdom that you have. So I feel like it would have saved me from so much turbulence in my marriage. But walk us through where you are right now in your relationship and what are some challenges that you're going through.
Yeah, so I've never really talked about this publicly. This is very new and very exciting, but it's funny because I want to rewind. I think this backstory goes perfectly into what we're going to talk about today. I was very much in that stage of kind of seeking not just a partner, but very much the one, like putting an emphasis on the idea of the one and being certain that I would find that somehow somewhere, some point in time. And so actually January, even before, I had scripted out in a journal because every manifestation coach will tell you to make a list, right?
Yep.
And so I'm like, oh, I have to do that. Let me make a list of everything I would want in an ideal partner. And I got real specific. Like the list is right here. If I were to read it out to you, like these aren't just like, oh, he's like 6 feet tall. Yeah. No. This was like, this is the type of relationship that he's going to have with his friends and his family. These are the type of personality traits his friends would have. Like it got so specific because I'm like, oh, this is what you do. The more specific you get, the more, in line with that you'll attract into your reality. And I being, a manifestation, almost to call it someone who practices it or a mentor, whatever, myself, I've seen that come into my reality. And so I'm like, oh, let me just apply that to love. Like, why not? Right. Met someone that checked off every single thing that was on
Wow.
that list, like every single thing. And I literally remember
That's
calling my
insane.
friends, calling my mom, being like, I did it. Like, there we go. I found it. This is my person.
Yes.
Let's go. Like, in 2 years from now, I could be married. Like, I remember it was a whole thing of, yeah, cool. Like, I did it. And it was so funny because, the weeks that transpired when I was seeing this person, what I was looking for just wasn't there energy wise, personality wise, charisma wise. I was like, am I even having fun in this or am I just forcing myself to do this because it's everything that was on my list of what the perfect person would be? And so I was in that state of literally like forcing myself to be like, yeah, this is everything I've ever wanted. But I was not really enjoying myself when I was spending time with this person. And so I was almost internalizing all these like different schemas and schools of thought that I would see on Instagram and be like, yeah, this is me healing. Like, this is a good thing that I'm not just
Yeah.
like carried away in the moment. And then it was so funny because I moved cities at the end of August, came to my hometown, had no intentions of using any dating apps. And then one of my best friends was like, I feel like you should just go on a date in your hometown. Got back on the app. I was like, whatever, I'll give it a shot because it just works out. I have this running joke with my friends that whenever they'll tell me to get on an app and I'll listen to them and actually do it, somehow end up meeting someone. And that's actually how I met my first serious boyfriend back in college. Incredible relationship. That's how I met this person in August. Another friend told me to use the app. And then that's how I met my current partner, which I remember going on that date, literally just feeling super comfortable, but almost just being like, oh, like, yeah, no, I'm not seeing this guy again. There's no way, right? Like I kind of came home and I was like, absolutely no feelings about it. Like I had nothing to tell my friends. There were no updates. This person wasn't my conventional type. And I'm pretty sure when we, texted the next day about how that date went, I was like, yeah, I think we should just stay friends. Like that was great, but I don't think, I see you progressing anywhere. And so this person literally turned into my good friend of the next 2 months. I want to say the tail end of October is when feelings develop. And I remember having a conversation with him when we were in the friend phase about the whole idea of like manifesting. And I'm, for people who know me, they know I'm into astrology. They know I've gone to astrologers and had them read my chart. Astrologers who've read my chart have also given me a very specific archetype on who my person or husband will be in this life, right? And so with that being a school of thought that I also do believe in, that is also a belief that I have in the back of my mind. When I was on the apps and I was swiping, I was almost looking for people who fit into that criteria of this is the age range, this is the overall build, this is the profession, because those are all things that are listed out in my chart. And I'm like, cool, like let me create my own algorithm and streamline all of my choices to fit in this archetype. And so I remember telling him about that when we were friends of like, no, but like my astrology says this. He doesn't believe in any of this. He's really respectful of it, but he doesn't believe in it.
Yeah.
And so I remember he was like, listen, I know this is your Bible, but let's slow down. Like he's just like, don't, close your eyes to things that could be like right in front of you. There are other options out there as well. Like you never
Mhm.
know. Like what if
Yeah.
you gave someone else a chance? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would. Literally, I think within days, 2 weeks of that, there were feelings that developed very organically between us. And that is now my current partner today. And I look back at the entire list that I'd created last January and to meeting the person that I did in August. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's really fascinating because I think so much of what I'm experiencing in this relationship, I hope every single person gets to like experience this kind of like appreciation from someone and feeling this nurtured by someone. I remember right after our first date, he went and he ordered my book right away. And I was like, I've never had any guy do that. I haven't had guys that I've actually dated or been in relationships do that prior to this man. Listen to every single one of my podcast episodes. I'm like, oh, don't really think like my own friends or my family have done that. So again, not that I
That's so
expect him
sweet.
to. It's, there's so many episodes out there, but I think the fact that he took the time, there was that voice in my head of like, you deserve this. But I think I
Mhm.
wasn't able to comprehend that I did because even still after all of that, I was like, no, we should just be friends. This is a lot. And so I
Yeah.
think that's where kind of my healing started to begin when I leaned into having feelings for him and leaned into the relationship because I literally, to this day, I keep reminding myself, like now it's been, 5 months, I keep reminding myself of like, yeah, you deserve this. Like you are worthy of this. And I've just never seen it. Like I've never seen, I mean, even in
Yeah.
so many other people's relationships, like men treat women as amazing as this guy shows up for me. And so it's like very much a learning process. It's new for my brain. We can go into all like the nuances of it, but yeah, that's an arc that I've had to really like sit with and like breathe through and allow to sink in because it's still very very new.
I love that you said that you have to sit with it and breathe it in because that is how you expand your nervous system in
Mhm.
order to create that space to receive what is being blessed into your life and to create even more space for even more abundance and more joy and more peace. So for me, that was my biggest struggle with my husband when like I'm healing, I'm like
Mhm.
overcoming things. Instantly, he is showing up more, doing loving me the way that I have only dreamed of being loved.
Yeah.
But then again, getting triggered. And I love that you were like, well, I sit with it and I breathe through it and I create that space because that's exactly what it is. I know that you were saying earlier how you used to have an avoidant attachment style. Do you see yourself healing that attachment style as you are creating that more space within you to be able to receive the love that he's offering you?
Yeah, I love that question because I think I know now how to talk to those thoughts because I'm right now in a stage of pouring myself, whether or not, like, however, this unfolds and unravels with time. I am so committed to at least doing that work on myself that I'm right now pouring myself into all of those like relationship anxiety podcasts and like really, really learning and soaking it in. And not only that, but like I said, the second step of, okay, when those triggers actually come up, am I embodying that knowledge and that information? It's one thing to read it, it's one thing to listen to it, it's another thing to integrate it. And so I think definitely in the past, I wouldn't know how to speak to that. Those thoughts that would come up, the feelings in my body when I would shut down, if someone tried to get too close to me or someone tried to like spend all their time with me and I didn't see it the same way, I would have this response of like, oh, okay, I need to go. It was very all or nothing. And I think now it's like I'm making space for the gray area of being like,
Yeah.
I don't need to know. All I can do is wake up today, figure out, okay, how do I feel today? What do I want to bring forward to this relationship today? And then try again tomorrow. That's been the greatest, biggest lesson for me because I will say when that like attachment style, if you want to call it trauma or physiological response, when it comes up heavily and it's still just as strong. It's not like that just magically starts to diminish. And I think only something as, whether you want to say exclusive or as deep as a relationship will trigger that, right? Like it's very easy to just be single and on apps and going on one-off dates and be like, "Oh, I'm healing and I'm doing my inner work." It's like, no, you'll be put to the test when you're in a relationship. Like, I think
Yes.
that's been a big lesson for me of like, okay, if I feel like I want to run away and just have my alone time and calm down, it's like I should be leaning further into connection. I should be leaning further into intimacy because
Yeah.
that's the only place I'm actually going to have room to practice that. And I think for me, what's been so incredible about this situation is that my current partner is so understanding and empathetic of everything that I share that I feel in the past, if I were to share any of the things that I've gone through, it would have been taken more personally, and then it would have created more of a rift and more of a divide, and it would have just been
Yeah.
this back and forth push pull type of thing. I think in this relationship, there's so much room for empathy and acceptance and for me sharing things. And his response is, I'm always going to be your friend first. So don't think that you have to like do it all yourself or hide from me because I am your partner. Like I'm always your friend and I'm going to talk to you as a friend if you do need, advice from that perspective. And so I will say, like, when it comes up, it's not really any easier. It's more of how I respond to it. And I'm just so blessed to have this situation right now where he's not taking it personally and making this about him. He's, if anything, supporting me even more and leaning into it even more.
It's like that
So it's,
healthy masculine energy. I think that so many women want to like have the man fix them and like have
mm,
them like save them in these
mhm,
moments of turmoil. But what you said is so beautiful because you aren't expecting him to make you feel better or
mhm.
like
Yeah,
console that little
yeah,
wound that is coming up. You're literally just being in that energy, and he is holding that space, that container for you to express and for you to feel and for you to just share openly and honestly
yeah,
and vulnerably so that he can just get to know and understand you and your world and the way you process and the way you feel because of, like you said, the mental stuff or the trauma or what have you, your past experiences, your past interactions and just like really being like, I think that relationships are the greatest containers for our spiritual growth,
Yeah.
which is why I have this podcast. And I love that you're experiencing this in real time and seeing the difference. Like, do you think that if you stayed in a relationship with that guy, but who was perfect on paper, the perfect manifestation of your dreams, do you think he would have been able to hold your healing and your processing the way your current partner does now?
And that's the thing. It's like, I haven't met any man who can do that, right?
Yeah.
So definitely not. And I think that was also a huge wake up call to myself of like, what does that even mean to have a list, right? Like, what is it
Yeah.
actually like? How far is that going to go when it comes to times like this? So again, I'm just blessed to have experienced both things. So I have
Yeah.
that like almost that peace and certainty within myself of like, you've done the whole list thing, you've tried that, you know how
Hmm.
that ends. Now lean
Yes.
into something that may be more of what you need.
And let's go into that more because I think that manifestation is an incredible tool. I do use it when it comes to like my life and my business. But I think when it comes to my relationship, I honestly just let it flow and let it be because I want the relationship to be spontaneous, where I think that that ignites more fire between us. Like, I feel like if I was trying to like manipulate him and control him and trying to get him to be the way I want him to be, it would really take away from the beauty of love, of
Yeah,
it just like being an experience where like every day, like you said, every day, how can I show up for love instead of how can I make sure I'm getting what I want in this relationship?
correct. I love that. That's something that I'm going to walk away with. The whole coexistence element of a relationship. Like, how is that something that you start to really like increase your heart to acceptance for who they are? Is that just a muscle that you build over time?
Yeah, so for me, I practice this every single day because I was the type of person who used to react with my emotions first. And that's because I wasn't in touch with my body, I wasn't connected to my body. But if we start paying attention, like you said, to those sensations within the body where something is coming up, I am so hyper aware of that now. So I'm
Mm,
like, okay, let me check myself real quick. My processing time has gotten so much shorter because I do this every day,
wow.
where it's like immediately I'm like, oh, I'm feeling something. Check in. Is this ego or is this my higher self? Is
Yeah.
this an attack on who I am as a person, or is it my ego being attacked
Mm,
but actually being called out on?
yeah.
And also being checked in like an invitation to expand? Or is this actually, constricting my expression of self?
Yeah.
And being in integrity with that when it is uncomfortable
Hmm.
and knowing the difference, right? So that you could be like, oh, actually, babe, this is how I feel. When it comes to my own healing, it's my responsibility. And even if I make a mistake, I have to learn from that mistake myself. And I
Hmm.
can't rely on him to protect me over every single thing. So
Yeah.
detaching from that savior complex,
Yeah.
wanting to be saved, all that, and realizing that a lot of our journey is very individual to our own lessons, our own growth, our own experiences. And even if he's right, I may miss out on a really incredible lesson that my
Yeah.
soul came here for.
Right.
So just really making sure you're paying attention to the difference between, is it an ego between him, or is it his higher
Mhm.
self protecting me? And is it the ego in me that's rejecting his advice?
Mm.
Or is it the higher self in me saying, no, I need to do this for myself?
I love the story that you posted the other day where you were cooking and he was playing video games and you're talking about
Yeah.
coexistence. And
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to pick your brain on. Like, just like very different
Little
lifestyle
things
things and
like
some
that.
that you might not even appreciate. So,
Yeah. Okay, so the biggest thing is that he is a whole individual human being who needs time to process his own stuff on his own, and he's entitled to play in his own world the way he wants to. He's a grown ass man. And if he wants to play video games, he can play video games. If he wants to go golf, he can go golf. And I have my own things. So, like in the beginning, I used to get so bored and just like really upset, feeling like I don't matter, making it all about me when he's playing his video games. And then realizing that, wait a minute, that's an incredible opportunity for me to do things that I love to do. So, like making sure that you have enough time in your schedule that you are not feeling like they're choosing other things before you all the time, paying attention to that, because that's a huge telltale sign of like, does this person actually care about building a relationship with you, or do they just want a companion who will be in their presence while they
Mhm.
get to do whatever the fuck they want? Really, it's about, we all want things from a relationship in our own way, but then realizing that the whole point of a relationship is to create space for two completely different people
Yeah.
to feel safe, to be authentically themselves in the container of the relationship. Think about it this way. Would you ever want your partner to like change who you are and be like, oh, I don't think you should be dancing. I don't think you should be painting. I don't think you
Mhm.
should be doing that. Like, imagine as if they're like an inner child that is just living their life the way that they want to. We're not here to mother our partners. We're not here to tell them how to live. We're not here to improve their life, even. All we're
Mhm.
here to do is be in our own energy and them in their own energy and experience our energies together and choosing that.
Yeah.
Like, if that
Yeah,
person's
choosing that.
lifestyle choices, say like someone is like going out with their friends and getting drunk all the time and you're not a big drinker, that's a compatibility issue that is bigger than just, oh, I should just accept them for who they are. So really paying attention, are there behaviors self-destructive in a way that it's going to pull your energy down and keep you stuck in self-actualizing and actualizing the dreams that you came here to do? Then they're not a good partner for your soul, and that is why we're here, which is to
Mhm.
be our fullest expression of self. So really
Yeah.
just paying attention to like, are there behaviors stopping me from becoming my best self? That's a red flag.
Yeah.
But if not, and they're just doing their thing and you're just like not that into it, detach yourself from that situation and go do things that are going to lift you up. Like maybe start your next book or a
Yeah.
podcast or something that is going to propel your career or your own self discovery journey. I would love to switch the conversation into something you were saying earlier about the difference between knowing something with your awareness versus integrating and embodying it into like your actual reality. So how do you do your integration embodiment process?
Yeah, I think again it goes back to that idea of the opportunity in which you are even like triggered or put in that position to practice it, that must present itself first. And so for me, like, yes, I had all this knowledge about, oh, okay, like when your attachment style is triggered, these are, but you don't actually get to put it into use until you are in another relationship where that is bringing up, that same pattern, or even like I've had that show up in my friendships. And so it's like when I do notice myself shutting down, because that'll still happen time to time, what do I do then? And how can I almost like shift literally the decisions that I'm making, perhaps even what I'm doing with my body in that moment? So it looks different. Sometimes I almost try and make it like a fun mental challenge for myself. I'll go down the spiral and then I'll be like, okay, Nista, you know you're going to shut down. You're going to self isolate. This is what you've always done. This is your pattern. So how about we do a challenge and we try and like lean in the complete opposite direction or do something that's out of our comfort zone, right? And so that's something that I've been committing to in 2024. And I think this one podcast episode on the Huberman Lab podcast, the Huberman podcast, David Goggins was a guest and they talked about the whole anterior cingulate cortex of the brain, which is the part of the brain that literally will expand when you do things that you don't even want to do. And so that part of that podcast motivated me so much because I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, obviously, Goggins is this whole new transformed man now because he just woke up every day and was like, I don't want to do this, but I'm still going to do it. And now is like addicted to his routine, right? Like, he just so many endorphins out of it. So I was like, what's something that I normally wouldn't even do? And how do I just like start to integrate that into my life to almost become this new, I don't want to say new and improved, but like
Yeah, like
shift
a
into like a
positive
new,
shift. Hmm.
it's a shift and it's like a way that I've never seen myself before. So it's different things every time. One time when I wanted to shut down and self isolate, I actually ended up having a conversation with the person about what it was that kind of came up that made me upset, which I had never done before. But I was like,
That's
you
huge.
owe it to yourself to do this. Type up a text, send it. Great conversation. When it comes up, I mean, at least in the context of my relationship, because I know that's more of what we're talking about, I've always felt comfortable to share it with him. So even if I need my time for like 5, 6 hours of the day, he'll know when something's off. And then I'll end up circling back and be like, "Yep, it's happening again. I'm feeling it. I'm going through it. Just wanted to share that with you." And it again is that he provides that space of like, I'm here no matter what. You do your thing. And I'll either take deep breaths, I'll do a workout, I'll dance, I'll try and get out of the place of being just still and in my thoughts. I'll go on a walk, I'll call a friend, almost like disrupting that pattern. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things that you can do, but I think really like if I were to put it into 3 steps, I'd be like become aware that you're going through that pattern. Second, decide what you want to do about it. If you want to stay in it in that moment because it's comfortable, that's okay, no judgment. If you do want to break it, you can ask yourself how. And then there's a ton of things you can do, right? You can journal, you can call a friend, you can, like you said, integrate that into like breathing or actual somatic movement. You can say a mantra while you're breathing. So there's, I think, that practice over time. It's like you said, your body will tell you what you need. You'll be able to sense it pretty quickly. So now I know, okay, it's my body telling me to like do more of a cardio workout, or does it just want to stretch and be in certain like yin yoga poses for a while?
Yeah.
Do my thoughts just need to be on paper? Because if so, I'll journal. And you start to kind of be in tune with that inner wisdom that literally is so somatic and just within your body. It'll communicate to you. So
Yeah. No, that's so beautiful. And I love that because that is what like feminine wisdom is. Like listening to our bodies and not going into that headspace of, okay, let me find the perfect modality and then do that. It
mhm.
has to happen from the inside out. Like it has to be
Yeah.
something that feels so authentic to what we need in the moment. Painting has helped me in the past, but in the moment, old me would have been like, no, that's what helped me, so I have to do that. But I love what you said about honoring what your body needs in the moment because our bodies are so intelligent and they
Yeah.
tell us exactly what it needs in order to really go through the entire full spectrum of feeling our feelings to the fullness, not just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm angry that my partner's doing this. Okay, that's a great place to start. Keep going,
Yeah.
right? Like, why and like, where is this coming from? And allowing yourself to, I think people don't really know how to feel the full spectrum of emotions. That's where the magic is. Because if you stay in that anger, you're not going to move past it and you won't be able to actually get to the wisdom that
Right.
is trying to come out. And
Yeah.
like that's the
Yeah.
integration embodiment, right? It's like the integration is like the feeling, the embodiment is getting the lesson
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
taking that with you every day. That is awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. What's next for you? Like, what are some projects
Yeah.
that you're working on?
Really excited to start working at a local cognitive center. It's very new, so definitely, be happy to share more about it later. But for now, I'm just kind of going through training and getting the opportunity to work with students who are coming in with wide range of needs. So be it like a learning disability or maybe wanting to improve on reading proficiency or cognitive
That's
enhancement of
awesome.
any sort. We're doing a lot of fun, cool cognitive interactive exercises and we call it brain training. And so I'm having fun with that because that's just what I'm so excited about, psych and neuroscience, and getting to actually like practice it in a structured environment is really cool. And then just balancing it out with a lot of my creative projects I'm still doing on the side. So still very much just fleshing out those podcast episodes, making some fun Instagram posts as they come and kind of, letting it flow more with the entrepreneurial journey. I think that's something that yeah, I'm just like leaning into more this year and having a balance of both. I think before it was always this feeling of, oh, I'd have to pick one or the other. And now I'm like, let me just kind of do both. And so that's today is a great example. I just went to training, came home, got on this podcast with you. I like it. I like the duality of it. So,
Unlimited possibilities, you know? And
yeah,
like, I'm such a big supporter of allowing your creativity to be a hobby and a passion. Like, you don't have to monetize it. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And I think that, like,
yeah.
when we put that pressure on it to be something that we make a living off of, it takes away the magic and the fun.
I know. Yeah.
So I love that you're like allowing yourself to have the stability and the security with like this opportunity while also not neglecting your creativity and your passions and your joy. That's
Yeah, and I
so
think it
beautiful.
just there's no pressure for it anymore because of that. So, like, even the other
Yeah.
day, you see in my stories, the painting and the dancing. I'm like, "Oh, there's no pressure to, like,
So good.
make this into a reel and check out." I'm like, "No, I'm just posting it on my story because 'cause I'm having
Yeah.
fun, and that's that, and I get to have this separate job." And it's like a very again, a season of transitions because me a year and a half ago would have been like, "Absolutely not, girl." And me
Yeah.
now is like, this is so much healthier and grounding to my body right now. So, obviously things can change with time, and one day I would
Yeah.
love to be back into full-time entrepreneurship, but I think right now I'm, like, recognizing what I need, and that lesson in itself has just been so rewarding. So, of
Yeah. How can
course.
my audience find you and how can they work with you?
Yes. So my Instagram is at it's Nista, so just ITSNISTHAA. There's two A's at the end. My website is nistadube.com. So NISTHADUBE.com. And my podcast is Rising, which is both on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for having me today. This was fun. I've always listened to your episodes, so being here is just a really, really fun time.
Thanks for always supporting.
Of
It means a
course.
lot, honestly.